How you doing, my friends? This is Dan Denley, and I want to show you about this CAGED system, and I'm actually going to play some samples for you. Andrew Koblich is a friend of mine, and he's come out with this, what he calls Project X. And actually I'm holding this book from his Project X right now. And actually here are the DVDs from this new course of his. DVD 1 from Project X, DVD 2, and DVD 3. And DVD 3 is actually where he has some jam-along tracks, and actually his guest guitarist from MIT that comes on and explains 3-octave devices and kind of ties all this CAGED stuff together. What's exciting about this to me is that I've never really taught this before. And so it's a great opportunity for my students and my subscribers to be able to kind of learn a different aspect of scales. And I'm going to show you the difference in the way I teach it and the way Andrew teaches it. And I'm not really an expert at what Andrew teaches, but I've just actually watched the DVDs and taken a look at this new book of his. And what I'd like to do is kind of explain to you a little bit about the differences between these two forms. So let me explain a little bit about how I go about teaching this. If I'm going to teach G Ionian, or G scale, right? There's 7 notes in that scale, and it goes like this. Okay, you could also play it like this. Okay, I normally teach it because I teach them in forms of rows. So the first mode of G major is Ionian, so this would be G Ionian. Okay, and then I say, if you want to learn the second mode, which is Dorian, then you go up to the second, which is here. Okay, that would be Dorian mode. Then move up to the third. So on and so forth, Lydian, Mixolydian, etc. So anyway, Andrew teaches this CAGED system. And if you think about CAGED, C-A-G-E-D, right? You have your C chord, just an open position C chord. Then you have A. Then you have G. Then you have E. And then you have D. A lot of people think the CAGED system just are those chords. There's a lot more to it than that, okay? What you can do is you take those chords, those chord forms, and you can transpose them up the neck. So if you have your C chord like this, well, you can take those exact same notes, and if you move them up, you've got a C sharp chord, and it changes the fingering a little bit because you have to bar these open, the strings that were open. But now, you get this C sharp. Move it on up, you get D. Anyway, you can move this chord form all the way up. But that's that C form. The A is like this. If you move these notes up a half step and then bar everything else, this would be, for example, a C chord using the A form. Okay. Then you have G. If you move it up a half step, this is a little more difficult chord to make. But you can generally just leave off the E string and just play these. That's different chords using, like this would be an A chord using your G form. Okay? And Andrew calls it a closed form because the first 3 notes make up the triad 1, 3, and 5 in your key of whatever key you're in. So this would be A, C sharp, E, using that G form. That's an A chord using a G form. And then, let's see, A, C, A, G, and then E form. Same thing, you move it up. So this would be a G chord using your E form. And then D. And then if you move it up, you see how that works. Then what he does is he shows you how to flesh out the scales for each one of those chords. Okay. The example I'm going to give you, I'm going to show you how I'm going to use all 5 of those forms and I'm going to use a jam track that actually comes from one of my courses. And the jam track just uses, let me see what chords it's using here. G major 7, E minor 7, A minor 7, B minor 7, and then C major 7, which is just a 1, 2, 3, 4, all in the key of G. So the rhythm goes like this. Now all those chords come right from the G scale. So what that tells you is that you can use the G major scale over any of those chords for your solo. In fact, you can use your G major scale over all of those chords. Well, the way this all comes together is, what Andrew teaches you is how to flesh out the chords, or the scales for each one of the caged chords. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to show you G, right? So this would be a G chord. I'm actually playing a G major 7 in the recording, kind of jazz it up a bit. But you can take that, and let's start using your C form for this G chord. Well, where would that be? Well, if this is C, here's D, E, F sharp, G. Okay. Then, if you use your C form on that, it's going to look like that. Well, once you know the scale that goes along with that form, so this is a G chord using C form. Okay, sounds like this. Then if I flesh out the scale on that, okay, then I can use that scale over the top of this chord progression, and I'll show you what it sounds like.